The message arrived at Earth Command Center on a quiet Tuesday morning. Commander Alan West was drinking his coffee when the screens flickered to show the familiar face of a Vraxian diplomat. Alan sighed. 15 years since Earth had joined the Galactic Council, and still they were treated like children who had wandered into an adults-only party. "Commander West," the Vraxian said, his four eyes blinking in that unsettling pattern that humans still found hard to read. "The Council requests Earth's presence at an emergency session tomorrow." Alan nodded politely. "May I ask what this concerns?" "Your Mars colony," the Vraxian replied flatly. "There has been an incident." The screen went black before Alan could ask more questions. He set down his coffee mug and pressed the emergency alert button. Within 30 minutes, the war room filled with Earth's top officials. Admiral Susan Martinez arrived first, her uniform crisp despite being called from sleep. Dr. Olivia Reed followed, the xenobiologist's eyes already showing she expected the worst. Vice Admiral John Parker was last, his tactical mind already working through possibilities. "Mars Colony Alpha went dark 3 hours ago," Alan said, pointing to the large display. "No communications, no emergency beacons, nothing." "How many people?" Susan asked, her voice steady but her hands gripping the edge of the table. 8,742, Olivia answered. She had friends on Mars. Family. The room fell silent. Earth had struggled to establish itself in the galactic community. The Council's older species, the Vraxians, the Zolt, the Dramari, all saw humans as barely evolved primates who had stumbled upon faster-than-light travel. They limited Earth's access to advanced technologies, restricted trade routes, and dismissed human concerns in council meetings. "I'm sending rescue ships," Susan said, already typing commands into her tablet. Alan nodded. "I'll inform the president. John, prepare a formal request for the council to investigate. We'll need their sensor networks to determine what happened." 3 hours later, the first images from Mars arrived. The colony's protective domes were shattered. Buildings had collapsed. The atmosphere processing plants were smoking ruins. "This wasn't an accident," Olivia said, studying the patterns of destruction on her screen. "The damage is too precise, too surgical." John pointed to strange burn patterns near what had been the colony's defense grid. "These are weapons signatures. I've seen them before." "Where?" Alan asked. "Vraxian destroyer cannons," John said, quietly. "I'd bet my life on it." Susan slammed her fist on the table. "They attack us, then demand we attend a council meeting? The nerve of these, we need proof," Alan interrupted. "Concrete evidence that will stand up before the council." The rescue ships reported back throughout the day. The death toll was rising. Few survivors had been found in the wreckage. Among the dead was Olivia's cousin, a botanist who had been developing plants that could grow in Martian soil. By evening, Earth's intelligence teams had collected enough data to build a case. Energy signatures matched known Vraxian weapons. Debris contained alloys used exclusively in Vraxian ship construction. Most damning of all, communication satellites had captured fragments of coded transmissions between Vraxian vessels in Mars' orbit just before the attack. The next day, Earth's representatives stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was designed to intimidate, with the 7 major species seated on high platforms looking down at the speaker's podium. The 23 minor species, including humans, were seated below in simple chairs. Zorax, the Vraxian council member, watched with an expression that, in his species, indicated amusement as Alan presented Earth's evidence. "These are serious accusations," Grand Arbiter Zilna said when Alan finished. "The council will need time to verify this information." "People are still dying," Susan protested. "We found children trapped under collapsed structures. We need immediate action." Zorax made a dismissive gesture with his upper limbs. "Perhaps if humans built stronger colonies, they would withstand normal space weather events. The evidence presented is insufficient." "Space weather?" Olivia couldn't contain herself. "We have your weapons signatures, your ship alloys, your communication codes." "Easily fabricated," Zorax replied, "or perhaps misinterpreted by primitive human technology. The council chamber filled with murmurs. Some sounded sympathetic, but most held the tone of agreement with Zorax. The council will investigate in due time, Zilna concluded. This session is adjourned. As they left the chamber, a small, green-skinned being approached them. It was Kelnar, representative of the Lyri, another minor species that had suffered under council restrictions. They will do nothing, Kelnar whispered, just as they did nothing when the Vraxians tested weapons on our outer colonies 3 years ago. Alan stopped walking. What did you say? You are not the first, Kelnar continued. The Vraxians need weapons testing grounds. The council looks away when they choose unimportant targets. Back on Earth, the president called an emergency session with her top advisors. The evidence from Mars was combined with new information from Kelnar and other sympathetic minor species. A pattern emerged. The Vraxians had been attacking expendable colonies for years, with the council's tacit approval. We cannot let this stand, the president said. But we cannot win a direct conflict with the Vraxians, let alone the entire council. Gregory Hunt, Earth's intelligence director, cleared his throat. Perhaps it's time we showed our full hand, Madam President. The Silent Thunder project isn't ready, objected Dr. Daniel Scott, the project's lead scientist. It's ready. Enough, Gregory replied, and they'll never see it coming. They think we're playing with toys while they wield real power. They have no idea what we've been developing in secret. The president looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. If we do this, there's no going back. We will either earn our place in the galaxy or lose everything. Alan thought of the bodies being recovered from Mars, of the 15 years of humiliation at council meetings, of the restrictions that had cost lives and livelihoods. Earth has tried diplomacy, he said finally. We've played by their rules, and now thousands of our people are dead. Susan nodded in agreement. If the council won't give us justice, we'll have to take it ourselves. The president took a deep breath. Very well. Operation Silent Thunder is authorized. She turned to Gregory. Make sure the Galactic Council regrets the day they dismissed humanity as harmless. In a hidden facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Chief Engineer Paul Baker received the coded message. He walked to a secure room where Lieutenant Samantha Lewis was running simulations in a prototype stealth ship. It's time, he told her, opening a sealed case containing the activation codes for Silent Thunder. Sam looked up, her expression serious. Will it work? Paul nodded. They think we're 100 years behind their technology. They have no idea what's coming. Across Earth, secret preparations began. The Vraxians and their council allies would soon learn that humanity was not to be underestimated. The revenge Earth was about to unleash would indeed leave the Galactic Council speechless. The underwater facility hummed with activity. 100 meters beneath the Pacific Ocean, Earth's brightest minds worked on technology that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Dr. Daniel Scott walked through the sliding doors of Lab 7, where the heart of Project Silent Thunder pulsed inside a containment field. The device looked small and simple, a silver cylinder no bigger than a water bottle. Its appearance was deceiving. Will it really work? Asked Lieutenant Samantha Lewis, who had been chosen to deliver the weapon. She stood by the observation window, her pilot's uniform crisp despite the late hour. Daniel sighed. The tests show a 97% success rate. Once activated, it will spread through their systems like a digital wildfire. He touched the glass separating them from the device. What we're about to do, it will change everything, Sam. They killed 8,000 people on Mars, Sam replied, her voice steady. They've been picking off lesser species for years while the council looked the other way. Chief Engineer Paul Baker entered the lab carrying a tablet. Final diagnostics complete, he announced. The Spectre ship is ready, completely invisible to any known detection system. In another part of the facility, Gregory Hunt gathered his intelligence team. Digital screens showed Vraxian fleet movements, defense systems, and communication networks. The alien species believed their systems were unbreakable. They were wrong. Agent Harris has been undercover on Vraxian Prime for 3 years, Gregory explained to Commander Alan West. He's planted the access points we need throughout their major systems. Alan studied the maps. And they suspect nothing? Gregory smiled thinly. The Vraxians believe humans are barely capable of understanding their technology, let alone infiltrating it. Their arrogance is our greatest advantage. Meanwhile, Admiral Susan Martinez briefed the decoy fleet crews. 20 ships would launch a direct assault on a Vraxian outpost, a suicide mission in appearance, designed to draw attention away from Sam's stealth approach. This is not a fair fight, Susan told them. You will appear outmatched and outgunned. That's exactly what we want them to think. Captain Ryan Miller, commander of the decoy fleet's lead ship, nodded. We understand, Admiral. Make them focus on us while Lieutenant Lewis delivers the package. Across the room, Communications Officer Patricia White programmed the message that would be broadcast to all Council species once Silent Thunder activated. Earth wanted the galaxy to witness the Vraxians' humiliation. On the other side of the facility, Dr. Olivia Reed worked with the alien Kelnar. The small green being had provided crucial information about Vraxian technology vulnerabilities. Your people take great risk helping us, Olivia said as they reviewed biological safety protocols. Silent Thunder was designed to affect technology, not living beings, but they needed to be certain. Kelnar's large eyes blinked slowly. The Vraxians destroyed 3 of our colony moons. The Council did nothing. Many minor species will celebrate when they fall. Vice Admiral John Parker entered the final launch codes into the mission computers. In 24 hours, Operation Silent Thunder would begin. There would be no turning back. The Vraxians have 5 times our firepower, John said to Alan as they reviewed the plan one last time. If Silent Thunder fails, their retaliation will be devastating. Alan nodded grimly. Then we better make sure it doesn't fail. The next morning, Earth's president addressed the small group of officials who knew about the operation. Most of Earth's population remained unaware, believing that diplomatic solutions were still being pursued. Throughout human history, we have been underestimated, the president said. Today we will show the galaxy that humanity is not to be trifled with, not because we seek dominance, but because we demand justice. In the launch bay, Sam climbed into the Spectre. The stealth ship was barely larger than an old Earth fighter jet, black as space itself. Inside its hull, Silent Thunder waited. Remember, Paul told her as he completed the pre-launch check, you'll have one shot at this. Get within 5,000 kilometers of their central communications hub, activate the device, then get out immediately. Sam nodded. Her mission would take her deep into Vraxian territory, alone and with no backup. If detected, she would be captured or killed instantly. The thought didn't frighten her. She had volunteered after losing her brother on Mars. Just make sure the broadcast systems are ready, she replied. I want to see their faces when they realize what's happening. 3 hours later, Captain Miller's decoy fleet launched from Earth's orbital station, making no attempt to hide their departure. As expected, Vraxian monitoring posts detected them immediately. They're taking the bait, Gregory announced, watching the enemy vessels mobilize. Their battle fleet is moving to intercept, High Commander Draylock of the Vraxian forces received the alert with amusement. Humans were even more foolish than he had thought. Their pitiful fleet was heading directly toward a Vraxian military outpost, apparently seeking revenge for Mars. Let them come, he ordered his captains. Show them what happens when primitives challenge their betters. What Draylock didn't know was that Sam's Spectre had launched in the opposite direction, completely undetected by Vraxian sensors. While their military focused on Miller's approaching fleet, Sam slipped past their outer defenses. The Spectre's engines were unlike anything the Council races had developed, silent, emitting no traceable energy signature. Earth had been developing the technology in secret for a decade, knowing that one day they might need it. Lieutenant Lewis has cleared the defense perimeter, Paul reported, watching her progress on a secure channel. Estimated time to target, 47 minutes. On the Vraxian homeworld, Agent Frank Harris received the coded signal. He had lived among the aliens for 3 years, altering his appearance through surgery and learning to mimic their mannerisms perfectly. Now he moved through the capital city, activating the hidden devices he had planted in their networks. As Sam approached the communication hub in orbit around Vraxian Prime, Miller's fleet engaged the enemy. The battle unfolded exactly as planned. Earth's ships fought bravely but appeared overwhelmed by superior Vraxian firepower. "The humans are even weaker than we thought," Draylock laughed as he watched the battle from his command center. "Their weapons can barely penetrate our shields." Lieutenant Eric Thompson, Miller's navigation officer, deliberately exposed a weakness in their formation. The Vraxians eagerly moved to exploit it, pulling more of their fleet into the engagement. Meanwhile, Sam reached her destination. The massive communication hub floated in space, unaware of the tiny ship now hovering 5,000 kilometers away. "I'm in position," Sam reported back to Earth, "preparing to activate Silent Thunder." Daniel closed, his eyes briefly. The weapon he had created was about to change galactic history. "You're clear to proceed, Lieutenant," Alan ordered. "May God have mercy on them because we won't." Sam pressed her palm against the activation panel. Silent Thunder hummed to life. "For Mars," she whispered, and released the weapon. Silent Thunder activated with no dramatic flash or explosion. For 3 seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Sam waited, her heart pounding, wondering if their weapon had failed. Then it began. On the Vraxian communication hub, lights flickered. Systems shut down one by one. The massive structure, once alive with energy and data, went dark. "Silent Thunder has activated," Sam reported back to Earth Command. Phase 1 complete. The Vraxian battle fleet, still engaging Captain Miller's ships, was the next to feel the effect. Their weapons powered down mid-firing. Shield generators failed. Navigation systems went offline. Hundreds of Vraxian vessels suddenly drifted helplessly in space. "What's happening?" Captain Miller asked, watching the enemy ships go dark. "It's working," Patricia White replied, monitoring communications from Earth. "Silent Thunder is spreading through their network faster than we predicted." On Vraxian Prime, Agent Frank Harris watched from a public square as the city plunged into darkness. Gravity generators faltered, causing objects to float momentarily before emergency systems engaged. Vraxians rushed through the streets in panic as every piece of technology they depended on failed simultaneously. High Commander Draylock stared in disbelief at his command center. Screens went black. Communication devices died in mid-transmission. Even his personal implants, the technological enhancements that all high-ranking Vraxians wore, shut down, leaving him feeling half-blind. "What is this?" he demanded. "Get our systems back online immediately." His officers frantically tried to comply, but nothing worked. Every attempt to restore power or reboot systems failed. The technology simply would not respond. Back on Earth, Gregory Hunt monitored the spread of Silent Thunder through Vraxian space. The weapon wasn't destroying their technology. It was doing something far worse. It was rendering it useless, freezing systems in place without damaging the hardware. The Vraxians were being forced back into a pre-technological state in minutes. "All major Vraxian systems are now affected," Gregory reported. "Their colonies are going dark, one by one." Dr. Daniel Scott watched the data with mixed emotions. Silent Thunder was working even better than he had designed it to. "How long until the effect reaches its peak?" "Another 30 minutes, Paul Baker answered, studying the readouts. "By then, not a single piece of Vraxian technology will function, from their largest starships to their smallest medical devices." Alan West nodded grimly. "Lieutenant Lewis, begin your return journey. Captain Miller, hold position. Do not fire on the disabled Vraxian ships." In the Galactic Council chambers, confusion spread as contact with Vraxian representatives suddenly cut off. Grand Arbiter Zilna called for calm as reports came in of widespread technological failures throughout Vraxian territory. "This is impossible," one council member exclaimed. "Their entire network can't simply shut down." That's when all screens in the council chamber activated simultaneously. Patricia White had hacked into their systems, bypassing their security protocols. The face of Admiral Susan Martinez appeared before the stunned council. "Representatives of the Galactic Council, Susan began, her voice cool and composed. Today, Earth demonstrates what happens when you dismiss us as primitives unworthy of justice. The screen split to show footage from the Mars attack collected by Earth's intelligence services. The evidence was undeniable. Vraxian ships firing on the defenseless colony, the domes collapsing, people running for their lives. The Council refused to acknowledge this atrocity. Susan continued. You refuse to hold the Vraxians accountable, so we have taken justice into our own hands. The screens changed again to show the current state of Vraxian ships and cities. Powerless, dark, helpless. What have you done? Zilna demanded, rising from her seat. We've deployed Silent Thunder, Susan explained. A weapon that targets only technology, not living beings. Every piece of Vraxian technology is now under our control. We can restore it, or not, as we choose. Zorax, the Vraxian council member, stood trembling with rage and fear. This is an act of war. The council will crush your pitiful planet for this. With what fleet? Susan asked calmly. Look around you, counselor. Your mighty armada now drifts helplessly in space. Your colonies are in darkness. Your homeworld has been thrust back 1,000 years in development. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives demanded immediate action against Earth. Others, mostly from the minor species who had suffered similar attacks, remained notably silent. On Vraxian Prime, High Commander Draylock received an emergency communication through the only system still functioning, a primitive radio channel that Earth had deliberately left open. This is Commander Allen West of Earth Defense Force. Can you hear me, High Commander? Draylock grabbed the ancient communication device. What have you done to us? How is this possible? We've shut down your technology, Allen replied simply. All of it, everywhere. Impossible, Draylock hissed. Your species doesn't have such capability. You're centuries behind us. That's what we wanted you to think, Allen said. While you looked down on us as primitives, we were studying your systems, finding weaknesses you never imagined existed. You thought you were watching us. We were watching you. Draylock's four eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme distress in his species. What do you want? Justice, Allen answered. In 1 hour, Earth representatives will address the Galactic Council. The Vraxians will publicly admit to attacking Mars Colony and other minor species outposts. You will acknowledge that these attacks were known to certain council members who chose to look the other way. And if we refuse, Draylock asked, then your species remains as you are now, Allen said. Without technology, without power, without the ability to leave your planet or communicate with your colonies. How long would your civilization survive, I wonder? The message was being broadcast across all Vraxian territories. Billions of aliens learned at once that their technological superiority, the foundation of their society and their status in the Council, had been stripped away by humans, a species they had dismissed as barely worth noticing. In the Council chamber, Susan continued her address. For 15 years, Earth has endured your condescension. We've watched as you gave preferential treatment to the major species while the rest of us struggled under unfair restrictions. The screen showed images of other attacks on minor species colonies, evidence Earth had quietly gathered for years. That ends today, Susan declared. In 1 hour, we will present our terms to this council. Until then, I suggest you consider very carefully what happens when you underestimate those you consider beneath you. The transmission ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. For the first time in its long history, the Galactic Council faced a force they hadn't seen coming, from a direction they never thought to watch. Sam's Spectre ship slipped away from Vraxian space, completely undetected. Silent Thunder continued its work, spreading through every Vraxian system, shutting down a civilization that had stood for thousands of years. Earth had delivered its devastating revenge, and the Galactic Council was indeed speechless. 1 hour later, the Galactic Council chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from all species waited in tense silence. The grand doors opened, and Earth's delegation entered. Counselor Ben Warren led the group, his steps measured and confident. Unlike previous Earth representatives who had been assigned seats in the lowest tier, Ben walked directly to the central speaking platform. No one moved to stop him. Members of the Galactic Council, Ben began, his voice echoing through the chamber. For 15 years, Earth has been treated as a primitive, insignificant member of this galactic community. Today, that changes. The screens around the chamber displayed images of the disabled Vraxian fleet and darkened cities. Silent thunder is not a destructive weapon, Ben continued. It doesn't kill, it doesn't destroy, it simply disconnects. Every piece of Vraxian technology is now frozen, unable to function. Grand Arbiter Zilna rose from her seat. What you have done violates Council law. No member species may attack another without Council approval, Ben interrupted. Like the approval the Vraxians received when they attacked Mars? The chamber fell silent. We have evidence, Ben said, motioning to Patricia White, who activated a new set of images. The Vraxians have attacked colonies of at least 4 minor species in the past decade. Each time, the Council dismissed the evidence or ignored the complaints. The screens showed destroyed outposts, ruined habitats, and dead civilians from various worlds. Many Council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. High Commander Draylock of the Vraxian forces will now address the Council, Ben announced. The main screen switched to show Draylock. The once proud military leader stood in a dimly lit room, illuminated only by emergency chemical lights. Without his technological enhancements, he looked smaller, less imposing. The accusations made by Earth are... Draylock paused, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. The accusations are true. Vraxian forces attacked Mars colony. We have also conducted similar operations against other developing worlds. A murmur spread through the Council chamber. These actions were taken with the knowledge of certain Council members, Draylock continued, clearly struggling with each word. Species considered valuable to the Council were informed of our testing programs and chose not to interfere. Zilna's face showed shock. This is outrageous. The Council would never... The evidence has been transmitted to every member species, Ben cut in, including private communications between Vraxian High Command and 7 Council representatives who explicitly approved these attacks. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Representatives shouted accusations at one another. Some demanded to see the evidence immediately. Others called for emergency votes to remove the implicated members. Ambassador Michelle Gray, standing beside Ben, stepped forward. We don't seek to destroy the Council. We seek to reform it. The chamber gradually quieted. Earth proposes a new structure, Michelle explained. No more major and minor species. Equal representation, equal access to technology, equal protection under Council law. On Earth, President Laura Davis watched the Council proceedings with her advisors. Dr. Nancy Young, the administration's ethical advisor, sat beside her. We have them at our mercy, General Kevin Black pointed out. We could demand special status for Earth, reparations, technology transfers. Nancy shook her head. That would make us no better than they were. True power isn't about dominance, it's about creating a better system. The president nodded. We didn't develop Silent Thunder to become the new tyrants. We developed it to break the old system so something better could emerge. Back in the Council chamber, Michelle outlined Earth's proposal for a restructured galactic government. As she spoke, representatives from other formerly marginalized species moved to stand with the Earth delegation. Kelnar was first, his small green form standing proudly beside Ben. The Lyri support Earth's proposal. Others followed, the Azanti, the Mordril, the Hazi, species that had suffered under the Council's hierarchical system. Zorax, the Vraxian Council member, finally spoke. You can't seriously expect the established powers to surrender their position. Once our technology is restored. If your technology is restored, Ben corrected. Silent Thunder's effects are reversible, but only we control that reversal. Think carefully about your next words, Counselor. In the Earth Command Center, Dr. Daniel Scott watched the proceedings with Gregory Hunt. Could they reverse it themselves? Gregory asked quietly. Daniel shook his head. Not for decades, at least. Silent Thunder didn't just shut down their systems. It rewrote the fundamental operation codes. They'd have to reinvent their technology from the ground up. On Captain Miller's ship, the crew watched the council meeting while maintaining position near the disabled Vraxian fleet. "I never thought I'd see this day," Lieutenant Eric Thompson said. "The Vraxians helpless. The council actually listening to us." "It's not about revenge," Captain Miller replied. "It's about creating a galaxy where Mars can't happen again, to anyone." Council Elder Traz, the oldest member of the council at over 5,000 years, slowly rose from his seat. The ancient being rarely spoke, and the chamber fell completely silent. "Iwi, my long life," Traz said, his voice thin but clear. "I have seen empires rise and fall. I have seen species destroy themselves through arrogance. What Earth has demonstrated today is not just technological prowess, but wisdom." Every eye in the chamber turned to the ancient being. They could have destroyed the Vraxians completely. Instead, they chose a path that offers possibility for redemption. They seek not to dominate, but to equalize. Traz turned his ancient eyes to Ben. "This council has grown comfortable in its hierarchies. Perhaps it is time for change." Zilna looked around the chamber, seeing the shifting balance of power. "The council will need time to consider these proposals." "Of course," Ben agreed. "While you consider, Earth will begin restoring basic functions to Vraxian civilian infrastructure, hospitals, life support systems, essential services. We are not monsters. We don't target the innocent." This announcement sent another ripple through the chamber. Earth had the power to keep the Vraxians in technological darkness, but was choosing to alleviate suffering among civilians. As the Earth delegation left the chamber, representatives from dozens of species approached them, offering support, forming new alliances. The galactic power structure was shifting before their eyes. In a private meeting room, Grand Arbiter Zilna met with Ben and Michelle. "You've changed everything," she said quietly. "The council has stood for 50,000 years." "The council will continue to stand," Michelle replied, "but on a new foundation, one of actual justice and equality." "And if we refuse these changes?" Zilna asked. Ben's expression remained neutral. "The technology that created Silent Thunder exists. We've proven what it can do. Consider that when you vote." On Earth, President Davis received reports of the council's initial response. "They're considering our proposals," she told her cabinet. "More importantly, 17 previously marginalized species have already formed a coalition supporting our plan." Director Howard Morris, newly appointed head of Earth Security Initiatives, reported, "The Vraxians are complying with our terms. Medical systems are coming back online under our control." "And Mars?" the president asked quietly. "We're building a memorial," Howard answered. "Representatives from every council species have asked to attend the dedication." The president looked out her window at the night sky. "Out of tragedy, we've created hope for a better galaxy. That's the true revenge, not destroying our enemies, but building something they never imagined possible." 6 months passed since Earth unleashed Silent Thunder. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The once grand Galactic Council chamber had been completely redesigned. Gone were the tiered platforms that had placed major species above others. Now a circular arrangement of identical seats surrounded a central speaking area. Each species, regardless of technological development or military power, had equal representation. President Laura Davis stepped into the chamber for the first official session of the Reformed Council. The room fell silent as she walked to the center. Many still viewed humans with a mixture of respect and fear after the demonstration of Silent Thunder. "Fellow members of the galactic community," Laura began. 6 months ago, we showed you what happens when the strong prey upon those they consider weak. Today, we show you something else. What happens when we choose cooperation over domination?" She nodded to Dr. Alice Cooper, who activated a holographic display. Detailed scientific information appeared, showing technologies that had been unknown to most council species. Earth has developed faster-than-light communication systems that can connect the farthest reaches of council space instantly, Laura explained. Today, we share this technology with all members without restriction. Murmurs of surprise spread through the chamber. Most had expected Earth to hoard its advanced technologies, as the major species had done for centuries. This is just the beginning, Laura continued. The Galactic Science Exchange program launches today. All members will contribute and benefit equally. At the Mars Memorial, Colonel Stephen Ross oversaw the final preparations for the dedication ceremony. The transparent dome covered what had once been the colony's central plaza. Inside, 8,000 lights, one for each life lost, floated gently above the ground. Representatives from every council species arrived for the ceremony. Many brought offerings, plants from their homeworlds, artworks created by their finest crafters, or simply written messages of regret and hope. High Commander Draylock, stripped of his military rank but serving as the Vraxian cultural representative, approached the memorial slowly. His people had been the cause of this tragedy, and many humans still looked at him with hatred. He placed a small crystal sphere at the entrance. Inside it was a complete historical record of Vraxian civilization, their art, literature, music, and scientific knowledge. It was their most precious possession, and they were entrusting it to Earth. We cannot undo what was done, Draylock said quietly to Colonel Ross. But we can remember, and we can change. Ross nodded stiffly. Forgiveness would take time, but this was a start. On Vraxian Prime, life was slowly returning to normal. Earth had restored most civilian technologies, though military systems remained under strict control. The once proud species was learning humility. Some Vraxians resented the new reality, but most recognized that Earth could have done much worse. Earth's underwater facility, Dr. Daniel Scott worked with scientists from a dozen species. The Silent Thunder technology had been placed under joint control of the Reformed Council, with safeguards to prevent any single species from using it alone. Are you sure this is wise? A Vraxian scientist asked him. Sharing such power? Daniel smiled. The mistake your people made wasn't having power. It was believing power should be hoarded by the few. Director Howard Morris entered the command center, where Alan West was monitoring reports from the new peacekeeping fleets. These ships, crewed by members of all council species, patrolled borders and provided aid to developing worlds. The Vraxians have complied with all terms, Howard reported. Their military has been reduced to defensive capabilities only. The last weapons testing facilities have been dismantled. Alan nodded. And the other implicated council members? 6 have stepped down and been replaced, Howard replied. The 7th is facing trial on their homeworld. In the new council living quarters, Councillor Ben Warren met with Kelnar and other representatives of formerly marginalized species. What had begun as an alliance of necessity had grown into a genuine friendship. Would you have ever imagined this? Kelnar asked, gesturing to the bustling diplomatic center around them. 6 months ago, none of us would have been invited to these discussions. Ben shook his head. We didn't just want revenge, we wanted change. Across the galaxy, the effects of Earth's actions continued to spread. Trade routes once restricted to major species were now open to all. Technology that had been hoarded was being shared. Colonies that had lived in fear of attack now thrived under the protection of joint peacekeeping forces. On a distant moon that had once been a Vraxian weapons testing site, Lieutenant Samantha Lewis supervised a terraforming project. The barren, crater-filled surface was being transformed into habitable land. The first settlers arrive next month, she told Dr. Olivia Reed, who was studying the newly introduced plant species, refugees from worlds damaged in previous conflicts. Olivia looked up at the stars. My cousin would have loved to see this. She always said Mars was just the beginning of humanity's expansion. In a way, it still was, Sam replied softly. Just not how any of us expected. Council Elder Traz visited Earth for the first time, meeting with President Laura in the gardens outside the White House. Though his species preferred much warmer climates, he had insisted on seeing the human homeworld himself. In 30,000 years of space travel, Traz said, examining a rose with curiosity, I have never encountered a species quite like humans. Is that a compliment? Laura asked with a smile. An observation, Traz replied. Most species who develop the power you demonstrated become conquerors. The Vraxians did. Before them, the Dramari did. Even my own people in their younger days sought dominance when they had the advantage. He turned his ancient eyes to her. Yet humans, when holding absolute power over an enemy, chose reform over destruction, equality over supremacy. This is unusual. Laura walked with the elder toward the memorial for Earth's many past wars. We've had enough experience with destroying each other to know it doesn't lead anywhere worth going. In the newly established Galactic University on Luna, students from hundreds of species studied together. Knowledge that had once been restricted was now freely shared. The boundaries between advanced and developing worlds were beginning to blur. Vice Admiral John Parker, now retired, watched a training exercise where human cadets worked alongside young Vraxians and other species. The future defenders of Council space would grow up together, understanding each other's strengths and perspectives. Was it worth it? Asked Gregory Hunt, who had come to visit his old friend. All the risk we took. John watched as a human cadet helped a young Vraxian adjust his environmental suit. Look around you. A year ago, we were barely tolerated at council meetings. Now we're helping shape the future of the galaxy. He smiled. That's a revenge better than anything we could have planned. We didn't just defeat them, we created something they never imagined possible. As the sun set over Earth, thousands gathered at the Mars Memorial. The lights within glowed brighter against the darkening sky. Not just symbols of loss, but beacons of a new beginning. Earth's devastating revenge had indeed left the Galactic Council speechless, but what came after had given them all something new to say.